The galaxy had been fighting for years. Many human colonies had already fallen. Every week, another planet went silent. The United Earth Defense Command was watching, but did nothing. They believed this war was far away and Earth was safe. But they were wrong. Far beyond the stars, a powerful woman named Queen Adrienne was rising. She was not an alien. She was a human, just like everyone else. But she wanted something different. She believed that only her rule could bring order to the galaxy. Her men followed her without question. They wore black armor, flew massive ships, and took control of entire star systems. People called her the Shadow Queen, and her army had already won many battles. The war between Queen Adrienne's forces and the noble houses of the outer colonies had reached a breaking point. The colonies were running out of supplies, soldiers, and hope. They sent messages to Earth, begging for help, but Earth remained silent. They didn't want to get involved in another war. That changed the day a message came from Arden 4. It was a small colony, not very rich or important. But the message was different. It wasn't just a call for help. It had video footage of Queen Adrienne's army attacking civilians, destroying cities, and taking control of everything. It also had one final sentence from a young girl who said, "Please, someone tell Earth we are still here." General Leah Monroe watched the footage in her office. She had seen war before, but this one felt different. She stood up, walked to the window, and looked out at the Earth below. Her mind was clear. She pressed a button on her desk and said, "Call the council. We're going in." The mission was called Operation Iron Dawn. It was simple. Send a small but powerful strike force to Arden 4, stop the Queen's army, and take back the planet. They had one chance to act fast before the Queen sent more ships. Captain Drew Carter was chosen to lead the space fleet. He was not a loud man, but he was smart. He had never lost a battle. His job was to take control of the skies and open a path to the planet. Alongside him was Commander Natalie Brooks. She was in charge of ground forces. Her troops were known as the Valkyries, trained for fast, hard, and dangerous missions. Inside Earth's main battle carrier, the Argon Blaze, Drew and Natalie met for the first time in 5 years. They had trained together once, but now they were both leaders. They shook hands without smiling. "How long do we have?" Natalie asked. "For hours to arrival," Drew replied. "Then it begins." They both turned to the large screen showing Arden 4. Fires were burning, enemy ships circled the cities like hawks. The Queen's men had already set up walls, turrets, and drone patrols. "We'll have to hit hard and fast," Drew said. "That's the only way we win," Natalie answered. 4 hours later, Earth ships dropped out of hyperspace. The Queen's forces were ready. They had seen the ships coming. Massive cannons fired from orbit, but Drew was ready. He ordered the fleet to split into 3 groups, while 2 distracted the enemy. The third one, led by him, flew under the defense grid and destroyed the enemy's control station. As soon as the control center went down, the drones fell from the sky. The Queen's men were confused. In that moment, Natalie gave her command. "Drop the Valkyries." Thousands of Earth soldiers in drop pods launched from orbit, falling through fire and smoke. They hit the ground hard, broke through enemy lines, and started pushing toward the capital. Explosions lit up the sky, and the air was filled with the sound of war. Natalie's team moved quickly. We took back a supply station and freed over 200 captured civilians. The people cheered when they saw the Earth flag rise again. "Are we really winning?" one boy asked. Natalie smiled for the first time and said, "Yes, we are." Back in orbit, Drew continued to fight. Queen's ships were large, but Earth's new tech gave them the edge. In less than an hour, Drew's team had cleared the skies. The Queen's army tried to send reinforcements, but Earth had already shut down the warp gates. They were trapped. From her hidden command bunker under the surface, Queen Adrienne watched in silence. Her face showed no fear. One of her generals asked, "Should we retreat?" "No," she said calmly. "Let them come." She stood and walked to the table, where a hologram showed the Earth's forces closing in. "Let's see if they're right." Back with the Earth forces, Natalie received new orders. "We found the bunker," said the voice on the radio. "It's under the old Capitol ruins. We think the Queen is inside." Natalie looked at her team. They were tired, but their eyes burned with fire. "Then that's where we go," she said. Drew's voice came over the comms. "I'm sending air support. Finish this. As the sun began to rise over Arden 4, the battlefield went quiet for a moment. Earth's flag now flew over every major city. The Queen's forces were still holding the bunker, but everything else was lost. It had only been 4 hours and 27 minutes since Earth had joined the war, and they were already about to win. Captain Drew Carter stood on the command deck of the Argon Blaze. His eyes were fixed on the map in front of him. Red dots marked enemy positions across Arden 4. Most of them were already destroyed. Few remained, all gathered around the ruins of the old capital. That was where Queen Adrienne was hiding. Drew knew it. Everyone knew it. He gave orders in a calm voice. Keep the blockade up. No one gets in or out. Send repair drones to Base 6. We move into Phase 2 in 10 minutes. Soldiers moved quickly. Engineers checked systems. Medics treated the wounded, as the battle had gone better than anyone expected. In less than 5 hours, Earth's forces had taken the sky, crushed enemy bases, and freed half the planet. But Drew was not smiling. He knew the real fight was still waiting. On the ground, Commander Natalie Brooks led her squad through the broken streets of the capital. Fires still burned in the distance. Smoke curled into the sky. Her boots crunched over rubble and glass. Her armor was scratched. Her rifle was low on charge. Behind her, the Valkyries moved in silence. They had taken heavy fire earlier, but no one complained. They were trained for this. They were proud. They were Earth's best. A message came through her headset. This is Scout Team Echo. We found the entrance to the bunker. Sending coordinates now. Natalie stopped walking. Copy that. Team Echo, hold your position. We're on our way. She looked at her second in command, Sergeant Kelly Rhodes, and nodded. Kelly gave the signal. The unit moved forward. Far below the ground inside the hidden bunker, Queen Adrienne sat in a black chair. Her long coat brushed the floor. The room around her was cold and quiet. Screens on the walls showed the battle outside. One by one, her forces were falling. A man stepped forward. He wore gray armor with the symbol of her order. His name was Dax. He had served her for many years. "My queen," he said. "The outer defenses are gone. We can still escape if we use the underground tunnel." She turned her head slowly. Her eyes were calm. "Escape to where?" He said nothing. She stood and walked to the screen. On it, she saw the Earth flag rise again. People cheering, soldiers helping civilians. Her plan had failed. She had thought Earth would stay out. She had thought they were weak, but now they were here. "No," she said at last. "We stay. Let them come." Back above, Natalie reached the edge of the bunker. Steel door blocked the path. The ground was scorched. The air smelled of burned metal. Dead bodies lay nearby, some in black armor, some in Earth uniforms. Kelly scanned the door. It's sealed. Strong metal. No lock from this side. Natalie looked around. "Get me explosives. We're not stopping now." 2 minutes later, the team cleared the area. They set the charges and took cover behind a broken wall. 3, 2, 1. The door exploded in a flash of fire and smoke. The team rushed in. Inside, the lights flickered. It was quiet. Natalie's voice was steady. "Stay sharp. She's here." They moved through the hallway, clearing rooms one by one. The walls were lined with old screens, wires, and broken equipment. They found a group of prisoners locked in a cell. Some were soldiers, some were scientists. One of them stepped forward. "She's deeper inside. She's waiting for you." Natalie nodded. "We'll get you out. We'll just stay behind us." In the main control chamber, Queen Adrienne stood alone. Her guards had fallen back. Her officers were gone. She held a small device in her hand. It was a remote trigger. One button could set off the bunker's self-destruct system. She heard footsteps, and she saw them. Natalie entered the room with her weapon raised. Her armor was dirty, her face covered in sweat and dust. Queen Adrienne looked at her with no fear. So, Earth finally came. Natalie didn't lower her gun. "You've lost. It's over." The Queen looked around the room, then back at Natalie. "You came faster than I expected. I thought it would take you weeks. But 5 hours." She smiled. "That's impressive." Drew's voice came through Natalie's headset. "The outer perimeter is secured. All enemy forces are retreating or surrendering. You're clear to take her." Natalie took a step forward. "Don't make me do this. Drop the trigger." The queen raised the remote, then paused. Her hand trembled for the first time. "I wanted to build something better," she said. "A world with order, without lies, without weakness. Instead, you started a war," Natalie said. "You killed thousands. You broke families. You became the monster you hated." Queen Adrienne looked down. For a second, she looked tired, old, human. Then she dropped the device. Natalie signaled her team. 2 soldiers rushed in and secured the queen in cuffs. She didn't fight. Outside, the sun was rising. Arden 4 was quiet. Smoke still rose from the cities, but the guns had gone silent. Earth had done what no one thought they would do. They had come to the war. They had won. Captain Drew stood on the deck of the Argonne Blaze and watched the live footage. The Earth flag was waving in the Capitol Square. People stood together, holding hands, crying, cheering. He turned to his crew. "Let's bring everyone home." Back in the Capitol, Natalie watched as Queen Adrienne was taken away in a transport. She turned to her team and spoke with a tired voice. "It's over." They nodded. Some smiled. Some just stood in silence. 5 hours. That's how long it took, not just to win a battle, but to remind the galaxy that Earth was still strong. And when Earth moves, it does not take long. The Queen was gone, but the war was not finished. Even after her capture, some of her strongest fighters were still on Arden 4. They refused to stop. These were her loyal men, trained for years to protect her at all costs. They did not care if the Queen had surrendered. They only followed orders from the past. They were hiding deep in the southern continent, building a last defense. Captain Drew Carter knew the job was not done. Sitting in the command center of the Argonne Blaze, he watched the reports come in. Fires were still burning in some cities. People were afraid to come out. The Queen's elite guard, known as the Black Vow, was still fighting small battles. They had taken control of a mountain pass, blocking the supply route for Earth's forces. He called for a new meeting with the top officers. Commander Natalie Brooks joined by live feed from the ground. "We took the capital," she said, "but we can't call this a win yet. The Black Vow is too dangerous. We have to finish this." Drew nodded. "Agreed. They're not surrendering. We need a clean sweep." A plan was made. It would send a special unit to find and clear the mountain stronghold. It was hidden in the cliffs, surrounded by old mines and tunnels. The mission was risky. The Black Vow knew the area. It was full of traps and sniper points. Lieutenant Mason Cole was chosen to lead the team. He was young, but brave and sharp. He had fought hard during the first assault on Arden 4 and saved a group of trapped civilians under fire. People respected him. Before the mission, Mason met with Natalie in the field base outside the capital. "This isn't going to be easy," she said, pointing to the map. "They'll expect us from the north, so you go from the east. Quiet, fast, no mistakes." Mason studied the map. "How many are we sending? 15? All veterans? You'll have drone support and air cover, but only if needed." The Queen's bunker had backup data files. "We believe the Black Vow has copies. If they escape with them, this war could start again somewhere else." Mason gave a short nod. "We won't let that happen." The next morning, Mason and his team moved out. They traveled light and fast, wearing special desert armor that blended with the rocky land. The air was thin. The wind was dry. The mountains stood in front of them, tall and cold, like a wall of stone waiting for a challenge. For hours they climbed, using ropes and hooks, avoiding drones and mines. At sunset, they reached a small ledge. Below them was the hidden camp. It was quiet, too quiet. Mason raised his hand. The team froze. He looked through his scope and saw movement to guards walking near a power station. A few more soldiers were sitting by a fire. He counted 12. That meant others were inside the caves. "We go now," he said. The team split into 2 groups. One circled around to cut the power. The other waited for the signal. 10 minutes later, the lights in the camp went out. "Go!" The Earth soldiers moved in fast, using shadows to hide their steps. Within seconds, the outer guards were down. No shots fired, no alarms, just silence. Mason led the way into the caves. It was dark, but their helmets gave them night vision. The air inside was cold and damp. The walls were tight, and the sound of boots echoed off the stone. Then the first shot rang out. A sniper hidden in the rocks took down the soldier behind Mason. The rest dropped to the ground. Gunfire lit the tunnel. The battle had begun. Mason ordered the drone support. Tiny machines flew into the caves, flashing light and firing back. The Black Vow fought hard, using old traps and sharp angles to their advantage. But Earth's team moved with skill. Room by room, tunnel by tunnel, they cleared the base. Then Mason found a locked room with a metal door. He used a charge to blow it open. Inside were screens, data drives, and one man sitting in a chair, typing fast. "Stop," Mason shouted. The man looked up. His eyes were tired, wild. He grabbed a device and tried to run, but Mason tackled him to the ground. "Too late," the man hissed. "The data is gone." Mason checked the system. He was right. The files had been sent to a hidden signal tower nearby. Mason pressed his comms. "We need to find that tower now." Outside, the rest of the team had taken control of the camp. They searched every building, captured the last fighters, and started marking wounded. A drone scan found the signal tower 2 kilometers west, on top of a steep cliff. Mason didn't wait. He and 2 others rushed toward it. The climb was hard, the rocks sharp, but they made it to the top. There it was, a tall tower with a glowing core, still sending out a signal. Mason opened his kit and pulled out a pulse bomb. "This ends now." He placed it at the base and set the timer. 10 seconds. They ran. The bomb exploded in a flash of blue light. Tower cracked, then crumbled. The signal stopped. Back at the camp, the rest of the team cheered. The mission was complete. When Mason returned to base, Natalie met him at the gates. "You did it," she said. "Barely," Mason answered. "We lost 2, but the data's gone. We can't spread the war again." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "You saved lives." Captain Drew watched the report from orbit. He looked out the window at the blue curve of Arden 4 below. "Send a message to Earth," he said. "Tell them the war is over for real this time. Peace had a price, but it had been paid. Now it was time to rebuild." The camp outside the capital had become a place of work and silence. Earth's soldiers were cleaning up, repairing systems, and helping the people of Arden 4. The sky was clear now, without smoke or fire. Drones flew overhead, checking damage and scanning for any signs of danger. Commander Natalie Brooks stood near a broken statue in the main square. Her armor was dusty. Her arms were crossed. She watched groups of civilians gather, unsure if they were free to come out. Many of them had been hiding for days, even weeks underground. A small girl stepped out from behind a wall and looked at Natalie. She held a torn piece of cloth that was once a flag. Natalie walked over and kneeled. "It's okay now," she said. "You're safe." The girl didn't speak. She just nodded and ran back to her family. Natalie stood up and looked at the ruined city. The war had ended fast, but the damage was deep. It would take time to fix everything. In the command center, Captain Drew Carter reviewed the final reports. The Black Vow had been stopped. Queen's data had been erased. The last signal tower was destroyed. No more hidden fighters. No more backup plans. But something still didn't feel right. He called Natalie through the secure channel. "Everything on the surface is clear," she said. "I know," Drew answered. "But I've been going through the Queen's files. There's something strange. What did you find?" Before we shut down the data system, a short message was sent off-world. Not far. Somewhere near the border of the Tarsan Belt. Natalie narrowed her eyes. Was it a call for help? No. It was a message to a place called Station 9. The file name was the Second Flame. "Do you know it?" Natalie shook her head. "Never heard of it." "Neither did I, but that name showed up once in a battle 3 years ago. It was linked to a hidden lab one that worked on genetic programs." Natalie frowned. "Are you saying the Queen was trying to build something?" "She wasn't finished," Drew said. "This wasn't just a war to take land. She was working on something bigger." They both went silent. Finally, Natalie said, "I'll go." Later that day, a small Earth scout ship launched from Arden 4. It was called the Windfall. A light-class ship made for speed and stealth. Natalie took a small team with her only 6 people. Among them was Lieutenant Mason Cole. He had proven himself in the mountain mission, and Natalie trusted him. As they left the planet's orbit, Natalie sent a message to Drew. "If this is nothing, we'll be back in a day. But if it's something, Drew finished her sentence. Then we finish what we started. The windfall entered deep space. The stars around them grew thicker. The Tarson Belt was a rough area filled with asteroid fields, old satellites, and abandoned stations. Years ago, it had been used for testing new tech and running secret programs. Now it was silent. Station 9, Mason said as they approached the edge of the belt. This place gives me a bad feeling. Natalie stared at the screen. A dark structure floated ahead. Long, cold, and lifeless. There were no lights, no movement. Just a shape, hidden between rocks and shadows. "Bring us in close," she ordered. The windfall stopped a short distance from the station. Natalie and her team suited up and boarded through a side hatch. The doors creaked, the lights inside were dim, the air was thin but breathable. Old writing on the wall showed the name of a group long shut down by Earth Command. It was a program that once worked on human enhancement, then vanished. The deeper they went, the colder it got. Then they found it. In a lab room near the center of the station, there were machines still working. A power core hummed in the background. On the table were files, tubes, and glass cases. Inside those cases were bodies, human bodies. All of them looked young. All of them had markings on their arms. And all of them looked exactly the same. Clones, Mason said. She was building her own army. Natalie walked over to a screen and pressed a few buttons. Video started playing. It showed Queen Adrienne standing in front of the camera. "If you are seeing this," the Queen said, "then I have lost. But the dream does not die with me. I have built the second flame. In time, it will grow. You cannot stop the fire." The screen went dark. Natalie turned to her team. "We destroy this place. Now." They placed charges on the power core, the labs, and the data drives. As they moved to leave, the sound of movement came from the hallway. Mason raised his weapon. "We're not alone." From the shadows came 3 people. Their faces looked like the ones in the glass cases. Same eyes, same build, but they were alive. One of them spoke. "We were told you would come." Natalie didn't lower her weapon. "Who are you?" "We are the last of the first light. The Queen saved us from death. We owe her our lives." "She used you," Natalie said. "You were a weapon to her." The clone stepped forward. "Maybe. But we don't want war, not anymore." There was silence. Finally, Natalie said, "Get off this station. You have one chance." They left. The charges were set. The windfall flew away, and from a safe distance, they watched the station break apart in a flash of light. Back on Arden 4, Drew received the message. "The second flame has been put out," Natalie said. "It's really over now." He leaned back in his chair, let out a slow breath, and nodded. The war had ended again. But this time it would stay that way. The wind on Arden 4 was soft now. The fires were gone. The skies were blue again. People were walking on the streets without fear. Children laughed. Shops opened. It felt like the planet was waking up after a long nightmare. Captain Drew Carter stood on the platform above the Capitol Square. Below him, people had gathered. Earth soldiers stood in line, their armor shining in the sunlight. Flags flew again, clean and bright. The symbol of Earth stood high above the ruins. Drew spoke into the microphone. His voice was steady and clear. 5 hours. That's how long it took. Not just to win a battle, but to bring back peace. To bring back hope. The people of Arden 4 did not give up, and neither did we. This victory belongs to all of us. The crowd clapped. Some cried. Some held hands. It wasn't just about war anymore. It was about what came after. In the front row stood Commander Natalie Brooks. Her eyes watched the people, not the stage. She didn't smile. She had seen too much to smile now, but inside she felt calm for the first time in years. Beside her stood Lieutenant Mason Cole. His arm was in a sling, but he looked proud. He had led one of the hardest missions of the war. He had stood face to face with the enemy and made the right choices. After the ceremony, Drew walked down from the platform. He joined Natalie and Mason. "We did it," he said. Natalie nodded. "We did more than win. We stopped something before it could grow." Mason looked at them both. "Do you think it's really over?" Drew looked at the sky. "For now, yes. But we have to stay ready. Peace is not something you win once. It's something you protect every day." A few days later, the Queen was taken from her holding cell and placed aboard a secure prison ship. No cameras were allowed, no press. She was silent the whole time. She looked out the window as Arden 4 disappeared behind her. She didn't speak to the guards. She didn't fight. She just watched. Many people asked what would happen to her. Some wanted her locked away forever. Others wanted a public trial. The Earth Council decided to hold her in deep space, where no one could reach her. A place with no politics, no noise, just silence. Back on Arden 4, teams worked to rebuild the cities. Earth sent supplies, doctors, and engineers. Homes were repaired. Schools reopened. The people began to trust again. One day, a young girl ran to Natalie and handed her a drawing. It showed Earth soldiers standing between two burning buildings, with people behind them waving flags. Natalie looked at the girl. "Did you draw this?" The girl nodded. "You saved us." Natalie kept the drawing. She didn't frame it. She didn't hang it on a wall. She folded it and kept it in her chest plate, close to her heart. Meanwhile, Drew was called back to Earth for a report to the High Command. He stood in a large room filled with senior officers and council leaders. "You ended a war in 5 hours," one of them said. "How did that happen?" Drew answered simply, "'Cause we waited too long to get involved. But when we did, we came prepared. We used speed, focus, and unity. We didn't fight to control. We fought to protect. And that made all the difference." They nodded and thanked him. As he left the chamber, a reporter stopped him. "Captain Carter, is this Earth's return to power in the galaxy?" Or paused. Then he replied, "This isn't about power. This is about responsibility. Earth is strong, yes. But strength without care becomes cruelty. We're not here to conquer. We're here to make sure people have the right to live free." The interview went viral across systems. People on other colonies started sending messages of thanks. Even small outer settlements that had never trusted Earth before now asked for support and connection. For the first time in years, Earth was not just feared, it was respected. Natalie and Mason stayed on Arden to lead the peacekeeping mission. They trained local defense forces and helped build new systems to keep the planet safe. Every evening, they walked through the capital streets, talking with the people. Sometimes they didn't say much. Just being there was enough. One night, Mason said, "I still see them sometimes, the ones we lost." Natalie nodded. "Me too. But we kept others alive. That has to mean something. It means everything." After 3 months, Natalie was offered a return to Earth, a promotion, a desk job in a high tower with a big title. She turned it down. "I belong where the work is real," she said. Drew, now back on Earth, respected her choice. He knew peace was not made in meetings. It was made in places like Arden 4, in the quiet days after war when people chose to stand together instead of falling apart. One day, a new school was opened in the Arden capital. They named it the Brooks Academy for Defense and Peace. Natalie didn't want the name, but the people insisted. "It's not for what you destroyed," they told her. "It's for what you protected." Years passed. The story of the 5-hour war was told across systems. Not just as a tale of power, but as a story of speed, heart, and human will. No aliens, no strange machines, just people. Brave, smart, stubborn people who stepped in when no one else would. And when humanity finally joined the war, they didn't just fight, they won.